Like Design Modeler, we can start meshing only from within the workbench. Just double-click on the mesh cell of an analysis system or the mesh component. As an alternative, we can also use the context menu of that cell. The graphical user interface of ANSYS meshing is very similar to Design Modeler. But we should keep in mind that Design Modeler and meshing are different applications with a different focus. Therefore, we cannot expect that all the shortcuts from Design Modeler work in meshing and vice versa. On this slide, we see a custom layout of the different sub-windows. We might find some of the shown elements at other locations in the default setup. Usually, the biggest embedded window is the graphics window, which is also called the viewport or 3D view. Here we see geometry and mesh. There's also a print view available by selecting the corresponding tab at the bottom of the window. At the top of the meshing user interface are the toolbars. The menu is static but rarely used. The icon toolbars are context sensitive to what is selected in the outline, which contains a tree structure similar to Design Modeler. The Details view is also context sensitive with respect to the selection in the outline. Here we define the settings for that selection. We will learn more about outline and details on the next two slides. There are additional windows like the selection information and the section planes. Those are only visible if selected through the menu. The message window informs us about errors or warnings during the meshing process. Right-click on any item to get more information about what went wrong. At the bottom, we have a bar that displays some additional information which can be useful during the meshing process. The worksheet is also context sensitive to the selection in the outline. We use it to define dependencies for named selections and to record the order in which multiple bodies are meshed. In the default layout, it is grouped together with the graphics window. The last window contains the mesh metrics, which can only be accessed when a mesh or mesh preview has been generated. We use it to get statistical information about the mesh and control which elements we see in the graphics window. In the default layout, it is grouped together with the message window. All those windows can be arranged individually by clicking and holding the corresponding title bar or tab, then drag the window away to let it float above the others. While dragging a window, some icons are displayed at several locations to reattach the window at those locations. We can reset the layout from the View menu. However, sometimes it happens that the layout cannot be restored by that function. In that case, we can delete all settings for all ANSYS products by deleting the folder at these locations. This will eliminate all settings except the licensing information. Of course, we should be sure that no ANSYS application is running before deleting the folder. The outline contains three default sections: geometry, coordinate system, and mesh. There might be more depending on the geometry and our actions during meshing. The geometry section contains all bodies. Just select this item to adjust the settings in the details. For example, we can correct if a body is considered as a fluid or a solid region. Other useful options are color and transparency. In most cases, we do not need coordinate systems. They are required for some local settings and for assembly meshing. The mesh object in the outline contains all meshing operations like methods or local sizings. They are displayed in the order in which they are inserted. This order cannot be changed afterwards, but it is only relevant if settings overlap. Then the last inserted item is dominant over the ones defined previously. Therefore, the order is much less important than in Design Modeler. In contrast to Design Modeler, we do not have menu or toolbar icons for most actions. Almost everything is included in context menus, either in the outline or in the geometry window. As said before, the details contain the settings for whatever is selected in the outline. Here we see an example for the geometry properties. Again, this window behaves a little bit different to Design Modeler. There is no protection against redefining selections. Therefore, we do not have to press Generate all the time.